France had a Formula One Grand Prix for 18 years at a circuit I loved in the F1 games. But on TV, it was one of the most boring races on the calendar. A circuit that was built for politics, dominated by one man, and killed by the people who were supposed to save it. Before we talk about the races, we need to go back to where this all started. And I want you to remember one thing from my previous circuit videos about Sepang, the Korea International Circuit, and the Hockenheim Ring. Every single one of those circuits had the same problem: politics and money. Magny-Cours is no different, but this one has a twist that the others don't. It started in 1960, a tiny club circuit near the town of Nevers in central France. Circuit Jean Bira, 1.995 kilometers, 5 corners, local club racing, and a driving school called Winfield. Nothing glamorous, nothing special. But that Winfield school, it produced some serious talent over the years. Alain Prost trained there, Jean Alesi trained there. The French had a factory for racing drivers, and nobody outside of France cared about it. Fast forward to the late 1980s. François Mitterrand, the French president, had a plan. The Nevers region was one of the poorest departments in the entire country. It needed investment, attention, and a reason to exist on the world map. And what better way to do that than steal the French Grand Prix from Circuit Pour de Car and bring it to the middle of rural France? Yes, this circuit exists because of one political decision. Mitterrand attended the first race. That was the political gesture. After that, the French government essentially forgot Formula One existed, but we'll get to that. The circuit was rebuilt from scratch. A full Grand Prix facility opened in 1989. Formula One arrived in 1991. And in the F1 games, I loved it. The fast chicanes, the Adelaide hairpin at the end of the long straight, the rhythm of the lap, it felt great. Corner names like Estoril, Imola, and Nürburgring appeared on the map because the designers literally copied corner types from other famous circuits and stitched them together, a tribute band of a racing circuit. But here's the problem. In a video game, you don't need to overtake. In real life, you do. And Magny-Cours had exactly one overtaking point: the Adelaide hairpin. That was it. Flat, smooth, medium-speed chicanes, large asphalt runoffs, a track that rewarded the best car and punished everyone else. If you were ahead after qualifying, you were probably going to win. And for most of the 18 years Formula One raced there, one man was always ahead after qualifying. The first French Grand Prix at Magny-Cours was won by Nigel Mansell for Williams-Renault, with Alain Prost second and Senna third. A French engine, a French driving school graduate on the podium at a French government circuit. Mitterrand got exactly what he paid for. The next 4 years followed the same script. Williams dominated. The races were professional. The media complained about the location and the lack of overtaking. Prost won on home soil in 1993 in his title-winning season. Schumacher won for Benetton in 1994, despite Hill starting from pole. Clean, efficient, and forgettable. Let me introduce you to the hero who made Magny-Cours boring. In 1996, Schumacher qualified on pole for Ferrari, but his engine blew on the warm-up lap. Hill won easily. That was actually one of the more interesting races because something unexpected happened. In 1997, Schumacher won from pole. In 1998, strategy decided it again. In 1999, the rain arrived and Frentzen won from 5th for Jordan in one of the most chaotic races the circuit ever produced. That was the exception. Remember it, because it did not happen again. In 2000, Coulthard beat Schumacher after a tense strategic battle in front of 100,000 spectators. Schumacher defended aggressively. Coulthard responded with a hand gesture that became famous. He later apologized. He's called that win one of the highlights of his career because beating Schumacher at his own strongest circuit meant something. And then it became his garden permanently. In 2002, Schumacher clinched his 5th World Championship at Magny-Cours, with 6 races still remaining. The earliest title clinch in Formula One history. 101,537 people watched it. Historically remarkable. As a race, exactly what you expected. 2004 is the race people always mention. Alonso on pole with his Renault, leading the race. Ferrari responded with a 4-stop strategy for Schumacher. 4 stops at a circuit where you could barely overtake. He undercut Alonso every single time and won. That pit wall won the race, not the track. That is a perfect summary of Magny-Cours in one sentence. By 2006, attendance had dropped to 84,000. The circuit could hold 139,000. Journalists called it a good effort for a race in the middle of nowhere. The 2006 race also celebrated 100 years of the French Grand Prix. Schumacher won his 8th. It should have been a party. It was called a procession. 8 victories at one circuit. An absolute Formula One record at the time. The greatest driver of his generation. And Magny-Cours was his garden. He made it iconic and unwatchable at the same time. Ferrari kept winning on the track, Raikkonen in 2007, Massa in 2008, and then it was over. So, how does a Formula One circuit with 18 consecutive Grand Prix weekends just disappear? The location was a disaster from day one. 250 kilometers south of Paris. No nearby major airport, weak motorway links, not enough hotels within a reasonable distance, teams spread across multiple cities, fans traveling from abroad had almost no good options. The FFSA themselves cited poor access and weak accommodation as official reasons to suspend the race, not an opinion, an official statement. And the finances were fragile from the very beginning. Hosting fees rose every year in the Ecclestone era. By 2003, the FFSA was already publicly begging the French government for support, announcing a €7 million financial shortfall for 2004. $7 million. And they needed a 50-50 split between private and public money just to keep the race alive. And that was during the Schumacher era, when Formula One was still relatively popular. Regional authorities around Neves were simply too small to absorb those losses. This was not like having the national government of Bahrain or Abu Dhabi writing a check. This was a small department in central France trying to fund a world championship event. It was never going to work long term. And then Bernie spoke. In 2007 and 2008, he made his position very clear. He wanted the French Grand Prix moved closer to Paris, or better yet, a street race in Paris. He publicly said about Magny-Cours, we should not have gone there in the first place. And for once in his life, Bernie was completely right. Because while France struggled to find a solution, Bernie had options. Singapore was coming, Abu Dhabi was coming, new markets willing to pay serious money for a calendar slot. Marginal European races with declining crowds and no government backing were easy to cut. Magny-Cours was the easiest of all. By 2008, the FFSA withdrew their financial backing entirely, and that was it. No drama, no explosion, no bankruptcy filing, just a government that stopped caring and a promoter that ran out of money. The most French way possible to lose a Grand Prix. But the part that still frustrates me the most, the political will was never there. Jean Alesi said it, Alain Prost said it, 2 French Formula One legends, both pointing at their own country and saying the same thing. France did not want it badly enough. After Magny-Cours lost the race, multiple replacement projects near Paris were proposed, near Disneyland, near Flaine-les-Mureaux. Every single one stalled because of regional elections, environmental objections, and a complete lack of national commitment. Prost said that even well-financed and well-developed projects collapsed because of political obstacles, not Formula One's fault, not the circuit's fault. France simply did not prioritize it. Will the French Grand Prix return to Magny-Cours? No, and I'll tell you exactly why I think it should not. The circuit is still FIA Grade 1. It still hosts World Superbike, GT racing and manufacturer testing. Technically capable of Formula One, but technically capable and actually deserving are 2 completely different things. The French Grand Prix did return from 2018 to 2022 at Circuit Paul Ricard, and that disappeared again too. Same story, political problems, financial problems, not enough will to make it work. France had a second chance and wasted it. Now, look at what France has done in Formula 1 right now. Pierre Gasly, Esteban Ocon, Isaac Hadjar, a young driver who is genuinely talented and could have a real future in this sport, and Alpine, a full-works Formula 1 constructor, a French team racing under the French flag every single weekend. The interest is there, the fan base is there, the drivers are there, and still no Grand Prix. That's not Formula 1's fault. Liberty Media would love a French Grand Prix. A country with that history, those drivers, that team, it sells itself. The problem is the same as it was in 2008. The French government does not want to commit, and without that commitment, no circuit, whether it is Magny-Cours, Paul Ricard, or a street race through Paris, will ever survive on the Formula 1 calendar. Magny-Cours is not the only circuit that deserved better than what it got. I've covered the Korea International Circuit, Sepang, and the beloved German circuits. Every single one of them has the same story: great potential, wrong decisions, gone forever.